like to talk today about the different hate groups in America and what that kind of says about us and what we can do as people to sort of, in a way, fight against these hate groups and promote more love and peace and harmony, as we're sort of called by the Lord to do, and what we can do about this. These hate groups were analyzed by the Anti Defamation League, and they took a look at them in terms of the incident that happened at Charlottesville, where there was really some evidence of attack towards Jewish people and black people and people that were immigrants. So they kind of analyzed it and said, well, who were the people that were involved in that experience at Charlottesville and what happened there, that rally, and what does that kind of say about us, and what can we do about it? So the first group is called the American Guard. And the American Guard is led by Brian James, and they have chapters in 22 states. So a lot of times we think of these groups as just maybe in one state or one locality, but it's interesting to note that a group like that has actually membership in 22 states. A second group that was involved is the Daily Stormer book clubs, and they're responsible for a lot of the distribution of propaganda. They had 82 propaganda distributions in 2019 and 80 in 2018, so quite an extensive amount of propaganda. And this propaganda naturally feeds a lot of feelings of hatred and a lot of feelings of trying to really disrupt the lives of people and target certain people. A third group is called Identity Europa, and they focused really on what? On the white American identity. And their sense of America is that it really is a white country, and other people really shouldn't be too involved in America. It's really for whites to be run by whites. They promote white European culture, which is, certainly a wonderful culture to promote. Europeans have contributed a lot in a lot of areas in terms of art and history, literature, wonderful. But to kind of just limit it to that is to really lose the richness of what America is all about. They rebranded themselves as an American identity movement, but that really disbanded in November of 2020. So will this group form again? They were there at Charlottesville. Some of these groups, it's funny, they really don't have a long lifespan. They come for the moment and then they kind of disband. But they do indicate, I think, a lot of trends that we see with these hate groups. And so to be aware of them, I think, is important. Another group, and this is a very popular group, is the Hammerskins. They have gone through some ups and downs, presently a little bit on the downslope. Travis David Condor was arrested for allegedly assaulting and shouting racial slurs at a black man in Linwood, Washington. So when he was arrested, a leader in the group, but that did not go over too well. John Kopko, who was a Confederate Hammerskin, left to form the United Skinhead Nation. Former Hammerskin Chester Doles formed the American Patriots USA. So you can see they went from this one group to form these other groups. And the American Patriots USA is what we call a 3%er. They're dedicated patriots who protect Americans from government tyranny, and their sense is that the government can be very tyrannical and very oppressive, and so we have to kind of form this group to protect us from the government. It is based on the inaccurate claim that only 3% of Americans fought against the British in the Revolutionary War. So these 3%er groups are saying, it was a very small number that fought against the British, only 3%. And so now we're going to fight against the present government, and we're going to fight for the true American values. Another group is called the Highwaymen. They're a combination of two movements. They are 3%ers but also neo-Confederate movements. And these neo-Confederate movements basically are saying that we have to cherish the Confederate heritage. The Confederates really had it right. We really have to be more sensitive to the fact that we're a white country. We have to be more repressive and be careful because some of the other groups, some of the minority groups, are becoming too powerful. And so this neo-Confederate movement is really about repressing them and standing up for the values of the Confederacy and the Confederate flag, of course. Another group, League of the South, basically what the League of the South would like, they would like the southern states to all secede and to have a white-dominated South. So to create this section, there's just a white section in the South for white people, and have the other people maybe move to the North or some other place, because, you know, the South has the true values of our country, and these other parts of the country really do not. Another hate group, classified a hate group, is the National Justice Party. And their claim is that the present administration, the Biden administration, has declared a war on white citizens. So they really are, this Biden administration, promoting black people too much, and minorities, other minorities, Asians and Latin Americans and Muslims and all these people. You know, they're really promoting them too much. And so we have to fight against that as white citizens of our white country. Another group that was present was the Nationalist Front, but they fell apart in 2018. Then we have the Nationalist Socialist movement, basically a neo-Nazi group. Was led by Bert Colucci. However, he was arrested in April of 2021 for allegedly pointing a gun at a black man during an argument. And they have an annual event in Arizona and coincides with Adolf Hitler's birth week. So their concept is that Adolf Hitler was really a good man. We have to follow his thinking about the supremacy of the whites over others, and that we have to purify our race, and this is very important. And there are other groups that are involved, who are various militia groups, and three in particular. We have the Pennsylvania Lightfoot Militia, the New York Lightfoot Militia, and the Virginia Minuteman Militia. So these three militia groups are very prominent, a lot of members, and very active. Then we have the Proud Boys, which we have heard a lot about on TV, and they are a misogynistic group. They are Islamophobic, transphobic, anti-immigration group, and so basically they don't want a lot of these immigrants to come in. They want America to stay as a white country, as the way it was and always really should be. Then we have the Traditionalist Worker Party, also a neo-Nazi group. Co-founder Matthew Heimbach was arrested for domestic battery. He renounced his white supremacist beliefs in February of 2021, but then reversed course last month in July of 2021, and now he is a white socialist. So sometimes they go through changes, they renounce, and then they come back as a slightly different form. Then we have the Vanguard America, and they kind of splintered after Charlottesville. They kind of saw that Charlottesville didn't work out too well. There was a lot of, controversy about it, and so they splintered after that. Then we have the Patriot Front. They're a Virginia splinter group. They're formed by Thomas Rousseau, and they were responsible for 80% of the white supremacist propaganda distributions. In 2020, they had 4,105 incidents of distributing this white supremacist propaganda. So again, a very active group. Then we have the New Jersey European Heritage Association, very much giving out flyers and distributing propaganda. And basically their thesis is that Antifa is a Jewish communist militia. So it's the Jewish people getting together to form their militia to attack us, and we have to fight against them. Then we have the Nationalist Social Club, a neo-Nazi group, and finally the Loyal White Knights, and they are part of the Ku Klux Klan. So what do all of these groups seem to have in common? What is the theme? Basically, we would say it's white supremacy. That white people should rule, and really the idea of this tradition of America as founded by white people, and we have to kind of hold on to that. And these other groups that were brought in, these immigrant groups, the blacks that were brought in as slaves, and other people, Native Americans, they must be really repressed and put in their proper place. Good to be aware that there are all these groups, good to be aware certainly of what they're trying to do in order to really fight against it and make a more inclusive America. We really can't close our eyes to it. We have to know that it's out there. And certainly the question we ask ourselves as religious people, as people of faith, is what would Jesus want? And Jesus would certainly want all of us to work together as one, to love one another, to accept one another, and to really come together to serve the needs of all, and particularly the needs of those who have been neglected, those who are on the margins in our society. Certainly Jesus is calling us in that direction, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to have shelter for the homeless. This is really the basis of our faith. This is what the Lord is calling us to, not to be people of hate, not to be people of supremacy of a certain group over another group, but really all of us working together.